I want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. What does the Old Testament say about the afterlife? Well, that's a great question because when you go into the Old Testament, you go start reading, studying Hebrew, there is a word that describes the dwelling place or the place of life after this life. And the word is Sheol. It literally means the place of the dead. Unfortunately, I think some people have translated the grave being physical, Sheol being obviously an extended existence. Now, one of the most important things we can do is talk about what we call the wall of first mention. Okay, the wall of first mention is when something's mentioned in the scripture for the first time, it gives us a guide of how to understand it the rest of the journey. Now, the very first time we're dealing with this concept, not the word Sheol, but the concept of the afterlife is actually in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. God is giving the directions to Adam about how to navigate the Garden of Eden. Very famous story. You may eat of every tree of the Garden of Eden except for one, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For in that day you will, this is important, surely die. Now, why is that important? Because if you and I were to go back and read Genesis 2 in, quote, Hebrew, here's what it literally says. You will die. It literally has the word die twice, meaning you will die twice. You go to Revelation chapter 20, that famous great white throne judgment. What does it say about those who descend in the lake of fire? That this is the, quote, second death. In other words, Adam and Eve in Genesis 3 died spiritually, but they had not died physically. Later on, they would die physically. The point I'm getting at is this, is that when God said you will die, he was telling us before sin ever entered the realm of humanity, there is an earthly existence and there is an eternal existence. So the afterlife was even mentioned before we fell into sin. We find the word Sheol to describe this place of the dead. It's mentioned all throughout the Old Testament. Then in Luke chapter 16, Jesus clears it up. Now remember, Luke 16, Jesus has not gone to the cross. He has not raised from the dead. And he tells the story of a rich man and a Lazarus. Both died. One descended into hell, one into Abraham's bosom. But they're described in that Sheol context as the place of the dead. So in the Old Testament, you do have the concept all throughout of an afterlife, a place of those that were faithful to the Lord that's referred to as Abraham's bosom later, and a place that's referred for those who reject it, a place called hell. Obviously, the word Sheol is used to describe both. Great question. If you have one, send it to askjeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at askjeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.